Welcome to Nifty 50 Photographers. Now in today's video we're going to talk about something slightly different, how to use your mobile phone to take good pictures. Now it's often said that the best camera you've got is the one you've got with you at the time, and nearly always we have one of these with us, a mobile phone, and nowadays they can take some great shots. But another thing I've noticed when I'm teaching people photography, a lot of the time they don't know all the features, so they can never get those best shots that they could have done if they just knew how to use their camera better. So let's get started. And in this particular video, we're just going to go through some of the basics. So first of all, how to open the camera, the different camera modes that you can use on your phone, the options of zooming in and zooming out, and we'll touch on the macro function. We'll also touch on how you can activate the shutter or the video mode in your camera, the different buttons you can press. And one other point I should make is I'm using an iPhone 13 Pro to demonstrate all these. So what I'm going to tell you is based around Apple's operating system. Now some of this will also apply to Android phones, but if you either got an older iPhone or you're using an Android phone, I can't guarantee that all these functions and features that I'm talking about will be available to you. But a lot of the general principles should still apply, so you should still find this a useful video. But the first thing is, how do I open the camera? Well, the easiest way from the lock screen is simply just to swipe left. Another way you could do that, of course, is touch on the camera icon on the home screen, and that'll open it up as well. Now once you've done that, at the bottom of your screen you'll see a scrollable menu that gives you all the different camera modes. Now the ones you're likely to see, it'll default usually to photo. And photo is straightforward. It means just taking a simple still photograph. The next one to that would be video. And again, this is so you can shoot video. And working our way across to the left, after video, we get to cinematic. Now, cinematic is where you blur the background, but your subject stays in focus. You'll see this a lot used in movies and TV programs. And that's all it's doing. It's altering the depth of focus so that the subject's in focus and the things in the background are out of focus. After cinematic, you get to slow-mo, which means recording action in slow motion. Again, this is a video function where it's slowing down the action so that you can see really what's happening in detail. In something that might have happened extremely quickly, you can slow it down and watch that at a speed where you can see really what is going on. After that, we get to time-lapse. Now time-lapse is about taking a photo every few seconds, and this is ideal for things that happen quite slowly over time. For example, a sunrise or a sunset. Now if you film that as a video, to watch the whole sequence might take 20 or 30 minutes, but by filming it as a time-lapse, what you're doing is taking a photo every few seconds, and then you compress all those into the video. So it speeds up that process that might have taken 20 minutes back down to just 1 or 2 minutes. So it makes it much more interesting, and you see the sun sort of rise or fall if it's sunset in just that short period of time. Now if you scroll to the right from the photo option, the first one you come to is portrait. This is very like cinematic. It's about putting everything other than your subject out of focus, so making the background go blurry. So it's about having a short depth of focus. Then the final one is one called pano, which is short for panorama. Now a panorama is those big, long, thin photos. Typically you see them of landscapes, and that's what you would use this for, where you've got a very wide scene that won't fit in the frame of your phone, and you want to capture that whole thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to move your phone right across the whole scene, and what your camera will do in the phone is it'll take a series of photos and then it'll merge them all together to make that nice long thin photo that'll show the total scene. If you want a different mode as your default mode on your camera, for example, if you're always shooting video instead of photo, do this in camera settings. So go to settings, choose camera, and look for preserve settings. On that screen, as you scroll up and down, you'll see there's a whole host of different options. But just for this video, we're just going to talk about camera mode, which is the one right at the top. And if you put that on, it'll now default to whichever mode you used last. So if you use video, it'll default to video. So now let's talk about zooming in or out, so part of composing our photo. So to zoom in or out, you simply pinch the screen to zoom in or pinch out to zoom out. Now you will also see that there is a slider at the bottom of the screen. On the iPhone 13 Pro, that comes as a sort of dial. And as you move your finger around it, you can go from wide to zoom. So it'll show you the magnification it's achieving. Now, if you've got a phone with dual or triple camera systems on them, then you're most likely going to have the macro function as well. So this is where you want to take an extreme close-up, usually of a small object, and that's often something like a flower or an insect. So all you simply do is, with the camera app open, you move your phone close to the subject. And don't go closer than 2 centimeters, but from 2 centimeters above, the camera will now automatically go to the macro function. Now this is another thing you might have to turn on in settings. So in that same settings screen I showed you before, make sure macro is turned on. Now when you've got close to your subject, you should see a little black flower on a yellow background appear, a little icon. Now if you tap on that, what will happen is the camera will stay on the wide mode, and you'll see the icon now changes to a sort of grayed out flower with a line through it. Tapping on that again will switch from wide to the ultra wide camera. So now that we've composed our shot, whether that be a macro or a standard shot, how do we take the photo? Well, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can tap on the screen on the big shutter button there, or alternatively, you can use one of the volume controls. And finally, you might want to think, oh, I'd like to go record a few seconds of video at the same time. And you can do that just simply by pressing and holding on that shutter release button. And the camera will record video all the time you keep that pressed. And you'll see a red timer appear at the top of the screen that's showing you how many seconds of video you recorded. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and even though it was really just a cover of the basics, I know when I looked at it, I still found some stuff that was new to me that I didn't know about before, and hopefully you have too. If you want to know more about depth of field or depth of focus, I recommend you watch this video next, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.